crossing that Fulda Gap. Not on my watch.
Американский солдат.
Amerikanski soldat, no more. Gentlemen, this is the PKM, a world-renowned medium machine gun. This is a legacy of excellence type weapon. Many people have fought against these bad boys and they are still being used to conflicts today. These are very respected weapons platforms, so it is a treat to go over the PKM. Now, before we dive into PKM, we of course have to thank our sponsors of the channel, Aircon Pipe Dream Apparel, and they have some awesome Milsurp stuff. So if you Milsurp parts, you Milsurp clothes, and you can get yourself squared away with some awesome kits. So everything will be in the description down below. So head on down there. Big thank you to those sponsors. Jim, I know you're on the toilet, under watching this, drinking your coffee, consuming your beer. Make sure you like and subscribe. Leave a comment in the comment section down below. Your comments are a sacrifice to the algorithm god, a god of which who enjoys your user interaction. So big thank you for that. I love reading those comments. I read them when I'm on the toilet. If you want to support the channel in any way, shape, or form, Patreon, merchandise, guys, excellent ways to support the channel. Let's dive on into the PKM. I got a little hot, so the blanket shirt had to come off, but this PKM is not mine. It is beautiful, it is sexy, it is an elegant Russian lady, and it belongs to my friends over at Stockpile Defense. Steve, get over here. Steve, my good man, what would you like to tell my audience?
Just happen to be a part of a little gun shop here in Boise, Idaho that has some cool stuff and knows some cool people.
Thank you, Steve. Now, of course, it is dangerous to go out alone, so I have my good freelance mercenary, Mr. Thumb. Please get on over here. Now, Mr. Thumb, you have some experience with the PKM, correct?
A little bit, yeah.
Now, you like this gun, I would assume?
Yeah, I would say it's probably the best general purpose machine gun currently made.
I would say you're absolutely
I don't think anybody really disagrees with that.
No, this thing is a piece of art. Now, have you been shot at by the PKM before?
No, well, I mean, just on the range.
Oh, no, well,
Yeah,
yes, of
by
course.
you, yeah.
I have not been shot at by the PKM yet. I would love the honors of you shooting at me with the PKM.
It's a circle of life, man.
It's a circle of
For
life.
insurance purposes, this is fake.
For insurance purposes, this is all CGI.
Yep.
All right, let's load her up.
Oh, let's go.
And let's go down range.
Admin did it, then I did it on this range. And he was shooting at me. Now he's again at my range, but the roles are reversed. And now I'm shooting at him at the same exact position. It really is the circle of influencer life.
All right, now I am perfectly in some good cover. We're gonna take some fire from Mr. Thumb here in a sec, but it's a beautiful day out, so let's get shot at. You ready, sire? Let's do it.
Give me 1 second here while we prep.
Just let her rip. Okay, I cannot express, that is actually very terrifying. You got any more ammo?
Yeah, we had a jam. Give me a sec.
Man, that's a cool experience. That is terrifying, and the PKM definitely has that awe factor. Okay, now that was pretty intense actually. I'm very impressed by the cyclic rate, the report, the sound of the gun, and it is ultimately terrifying. Doing this now for a bit, having a YouTube channel, for whatever reason, I've gotten a little bit hooked on getting shot at by belt-fed machine guns.
Yeah, you're addicted to the adrenaline.
I like the dump. I like the sound. I feel alive.
Well, it's good because you know you're not going to die. You're not in
Right, I'm not
fear of
actually
dying.
in fear of dying. But I mean, you were saying how you were mad with me about something on the way here, and you couldn't have waited to So we did some quick shooting with the gun. Now let's talk about it for a little bit.
Let's go.
Oh. So the PK series of firearms, just like a multitude of other Soviet firearms, came about after World War II when the Big Red Army was like, hey, we want to upgrade our firearm capability. How many times did I have to say firearm?
I was just focused on Big Red Army. I was thinking Big Red Gum.
Big Red Gum, Big Red Army. So, Big Red Army, the old Soviets are like, hey, we want to upgrade our weapon capabilities for our infantry units, the PK, and then the PKM comes out. Now, this PKM, like I was saying earlier, was supplied by Stockpile Defense out here in Idaho, a very base state. Now, this particular gun has been known as probably one of the best medium machine guns ever made, essentially.
General purpose
Right.
machine gun.
Now, the PKM fires a 7.62 by 54R rimmed for her pleasure cartridge. This cartridge is the longest standing military service cartridge in the world.
It
This
is.
thing is
By far.
ridiculous. How many years old is it now?
It was
130?
it was like late 1800s, was it not, when it came about?
It should have been like in the 1890s.
Yeah, so it's been around for 130 plus years.
Yeah.
If my math is correct, but I'm kind of autistic, so.
What do you like? Autism like Ben Affleck in The Accountant Autism?
Yes.
In my experience doing this YouTube channel, I've been shot at by the MG34, I've been shot at by the MG42, and now I've been shot at by the PKM. Savio, have I been shot at by anything else?
Not yet.
Not yet. So
Soon.
So I've been shot at by the 8mm Mauser. Now the opposing force to that was the 7.62 by 54R. Now I have a good picture. Of course, this beautiful thing was not around for the Russians during World War II. But
Unfortunately
for them, I mean, they still managed to come out on
Yeah,
top.
they were shot up by bows and guns. Pretty similar. It's like, you know, like 12 of them firing all at once.
Yeah, it's kind of like a PKM,
Yeah.
you know, it's just the lamer version. So this gun is, of course, a very tried and true design. It has been used through a litany of conflicts through the Cold War by both, you know, the Soviets and then, of course, other military factions that had that Soviet influence, and, of course, by the military factions that wanted to get their hands on a stockpile of weapons.
Every continent.
Every continent.
Every continent.
PKM showing up.
Except for Australia.
You know what? You got me there. And what about Antarctica?
You don't know what those scientists are packing.
All right, so I wanted to show you guys something real quick, just a example of how effective bipoded fire can be over free firing this thing. I'm gonna show you a grouping bipoded out, then I'm gonna show you a grouping standing, just freehand shooting the PKM. I'm gonna be shooting towards the bottom of the target. All right, I'll show you guys the grouping. Okay, so lower part of the target, I think it's 8 rounds, or 7 rounds, I guess. So you can see a little bit tighter, working, I guess, more of a lateral trajectory. Now let's do standing. Man, I'm not that good with this thing, I guess. Okay, let's show you the group. I'm rusty with the PKM. I think I can do better. Let me try to go for A zones. That wasn't much better. Well, you know what they say, accuracy by volume. That's how you win. And I, of course, have to thank the ammo sponsor of this channel, AAC.
100%. Yeah, we love them.
We love
Actually,
them.
really good ammo. The 77 grain is a 12 SD, and we've been making 900 yard shots with it. No problem.
What is SD?
Standard deviation, it's very low. That's very good.
It's very good.
Very good.
So big thank you to AAC for being the ammo sponsor of this channel. Now, let's show you the quick change barrel design of this. We can see if she's still cooking just a little bit, but a big thing I enjoy about belt-fed weapon systems, and we're gonna touch this gun for the purposes of cleaning, right, YouTube?
No opposition from me.
No opposition from you. I didn't think so, bucko. So lift up the feed tray right here. We have this little tab. I don't know the nomenclature of the tab because, one, I'm a big dumb chimp. Sliding this girl over. Boom, she slid over. And we have our carry handle / barrel swap handle, whatever you want to call it. I got hazed on the internet for carrying a M240 Bravo.
Ooh,
by
did
that
you
handle.
carry it by the carry handle?
I did.
That's 100 push-ups, like
Rightfully
immediately.
there. I'll knock out
Burpees,
some
8
push-ups.
counts,
Cool.
you're fucked.
All right.
You gotta pay out, man. This isn't me, this is the Marine Corps doing it to you.
I'll knock him out the rest after the video.
That's fine. You wake up every morning, you do push-ups anyhow,
Yeah,
and then
that's
a
right.
facial cleanse.
It's good for you. I do 1,000 crunches. So boom, it has this awesome little feature where it is essentially like a leverage for getting the barrel out, because sometimes these bad boys can get caked up with
lever.
carbon. A lever of
A lever of sorts.
Boom, you get her out.
Every machine gun's got to have a good old quick change barrel feature because
There she is.
they get hot.
They get cooking. How many rounds do you think that was? Probably 300-400 rounds already.
Easy.
And so I don't know Soviet doctrine. I don't know what their round count was for swapping barrels during the Cold War. You have an idea?
Man, I knew this when I did this video, but I brain dumped it. I've done like 1,000 guns since then, so I couldn't tell you off the top of my head.
It's almost like filming guns and talking about them is like your job or something.
I know, I should be smarter at this.
So
Didn't realize I'd be, you know, tested on your channel, my gun knowledge.
Well, I mean, I just figured you're like Rain Man. You said you're autistic. You have this.
Yeah,
you have
that's
this
true. He's
knowledge
got a
on
point.
lock.
He's got a point. I do know the weight of it.
What's the weight?
16 pounds.
16 pounds for a medium machine gun.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. So, you know, our equivalent being the M240 Bravo, which is a much heavier gun, between 20 and 23 pounds. So, this is an exceptionally light machine gun, and as you can tell, the recoil is fairly manageable.
Yes.
You can fire while standing.
So, I will say, I was doing the standing shooting, but I wouldn't say my grouping was that great. I did a test real quick of bipod
It's
shooting.
doable.
It's doable?
It's doable.
I felt like shooting the M240 Bravo standing, I had a much better outcome.
Well, again, with a machine gun, the point is never accuracy, right? It's a beaten zone, so you want to get that beaten zone. So, as far as that, the PKM, very capable. Don't forget that like an open bolt machine gun is not going to be anywhere near as accurate as like a closed locked system, you know, like an AR-15 or what have you.
That's true. That's true. And it's one of those things where, you know, unless you were in the military, chances are you're not going to get too much access to these type of guns.
You know, depending on what happens, cordyceps come up.
That's
you
true.
know, then
Cordyceps.
you're going to be getting your hands on a saw, an M240 Bravo.
Yes.
If you're in another country, a PKM.
PKM.
So this is actually very helpful to those people.
I would say so.
Yeah.
I'd say Afghanistan, you know, would have a great chance with cordyceps.
Afghanistan?
Yeah.
Why? Oh, because of the mountains and everything?
The mountains, they're well armed. You know, they're
So you're
used
saying
to,
like the powerhouse of all of this is going to be Afghanistan at the end?
You know, I'm not trying to make that bold of a claim, but I think they got a great shot. Beat the British, they beat the Soviets, and they technically kind of beat us.
I mean, we fucking pulled out. I mean, we could talk about that all day, about that
That's a whole other
disaster.
topic.
I'm out of the military now. I can say the shit. Yeah.
You can say whatever you want.
Yeah.
I'm geopolitically retarded. So,
If you don't follow him already, Whistling Death,
Yes.
Tyler Vargas
Yes.
did a great testimony
Oh,
on the pullout.
that was a tearjerker.
Yeah, it was actually hella sad.
Okay, this is getting too heavy for my YouTube channel.
I know, just a disaster is all I'm saying.
It's
Sorry, you
just-
brought it up. You brought up
You
Afghanistan.
know what? Yeah, I did it. I'm sorry.
You fucking did
Let's
it, dude.
segue on out of this. All right, so we have our gas piston system right here. Okay, and we're gonna put this barrel back on in her. Oop. All right, she is lined up. She is locked into place. And that's how we swap the barrel for cleaning purposes. You can kind of see, we don't have to take her apart too much. Savia, if you want to come in here real quick, we have this claw right here. Now, what this claw does with the belt is...
The claw.
The claw. The claw.
Yeah, Toy Story.
The claw.
Great film.
So what this claw does is it's pulling the ammo from the belt. The
Rimmed
rim.
for the
It's
PKM's
grabbing
pleasure.
it's almost like it was God's design to have a PKM come out down the road for the Russians.
What you're saying is that there's pretty much only one way for these to fit together, and any other way is completely unnatural.
Yes.
You have it.
All right, so claw pulls the 7.62x52 round through the belt, a non-disintegrating belt into the rear, and then it sends it down into the barrel, into the chamber. Then we got a little buffer at the back. It kind of reminds me of the PPSH-41, how that bad boy also has a buffer, so I could see some Soviet influence, and I know a lot of those guys, a lot of those Soviet arms makers got together, I'm sure, and did a little chit-chat. So now you can also see a demonstration where this gun, the round is going to be locked back to the rear, and once you send that trigger home and drop the sear, it's going to go into the chamber and fire off the round, and that is, voila, how your machine gun works.
Do you want to explain open bolt to them as well? I mean, some people don't understand it. It's actually pretty, for people so familiar with AKs and AR-15s, it is interesting.
It is very interesting. Like, let's
kneel. So, with an open bolt machine gun, the reason it's open bolt is you're firing long burst, die motherfucker die, and then obviously the gun's going to heat up very fast because typically you're going through 100, 200 round belts. So by being open, you're at least cooling the weapon off a little bit faster. And in addition to that, the barrel and the chamber are going to be so hot that were you to load around into there in like a closed bolt weapon, like an AR-15, as hot as the barrel gets on these, there's a very high chance of a cook-off at that point. That means the temperature of the gunpowder gets so high that it will self-ignite. Yes. You don't obviously want that. So hence open bolt, there's nothing loaded into the chamber. Now the problem with that is that when you pull that trigger, you've got a solid 0.2 millisecond delay prior to that round going. You have the bolt sending forward, so there's a big tendency. I mean, you fired Thompson before, right?
Yes.
Open bolt machine gun as well, and the same thing. You have the tendency to dip down, so it takes a little bit of practice to get used to that open bolt nature.
And now we were talking about how these guns aren't necessarily built for accuracy, but a big thing where I find most of my accuracy comes from is after the first round, once the gun gets going, and you can find your hold and walk in your ammo, that's where the accuracy kind of comes from.
For sure. And you do go for a little bit, compared to like an M240, I will say this, the M240 is a very stable weapon to fire.
Absolutely.
This one kind of takes you for a little bit of a ride. You definitely get a lot of vibration. I'm sure when you watch the high speed too, there's a lot going on compared to the NATO weaponry in comparison, but it gets the job done.
It gets the job done. She's cooking, and she has a lot of power, and I like that power. Mike, speaking of power, let's demonstrate how fast 7.62 by 54R can melt a wall through the PKM.
We'll do it, no problem.
If you're a fan of the channel, you should recognize this concrete wall that had its torture test all the way up to 50 BMG. Link for that video should be popping up, I think, over here. And then behind the wall, we have a fantastic target that we'll be shooting at with the PKM. See how quick it takes to melt this wall. All right, gentlemen, let's melt this concrete wall for
Abby Shapiro.
For Abby Shapiro.
Yeah, they got it.
Should we try and cut the rest of it in half?
Yeah, sure, go for it.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, they got it.
Yeah, floating concrete. I want that guy. That's mine.
Woo, nice shot, baby.
Let's go check out the results.
Yeah.
The administrative
the executive outcomes.
result. Why do you gotta say that?
Gotta fuck with
Why
you,
do you gotta say that?
I'm sorry.
I mean, Brandon.
I'm sorry.
All right, so I showed you guys this little claw feature that works in conjunction with the rimmed cartridge. Now, it also works with this feed tray right here. So you have your belt that comes in over, and it gets locked in, and it has a certain spot, and that's a spot right there as it gets locked into that little claw. And the bolt's not supposed to be back like this when you're loading the gun. But for demonstrating purposes, I'll show you guys a loading and unloading process. But real quick, the bullet sits, and technically I'm gonna make it hot real quick by setting it in this little slot right here. Now, the gun is now technically hot because what it's waiting for is the sear to disconnect and take this cartridge and chamber it and fire, right? It's part of the open bolt feeding system. We'll lift her on up, clear her out, boom. Now she's safe. Now, to load the PKM is actually a very simple process. I'm gonna go ahead and drop the bolt, check, make sure she's clear. She is clear, okay. All right. Now we take our ammunition, you can see bolt is all the way home. We have our claw. So to load her, you lock her into this little spot right here. Move my can a little bit closer, make my life just a little bit easier. Boom, she locks in that little spot right there. Close her up. Then you have your charging handle right here. And the weapon is now as hot as it gets. Now, there's certain things I love about the PKM and there's certain things I don't like. One thing that I don't like is how hard that brass ejects from the gun and will tear up your arm. Back in the day, I did a wonderful video with Jim Fuller. I love that man very much. He is the Hattori Hanzo of AK building. But I did a video with his PKM, and it actually left scars till this day because it had a more modernized version of the PKM, a offset side grip. The brass coming out of there tore up my arm, and it was definitely very enjoyable.
You talking about them PKM scars?
We got the PKM scars too then, huh?
Oh, 100%, dude. Yeah, standing fire in the PKM just ejects it. Did you just do it right now?
Well, I was shooting it from this position up high. I shouldered it and I went up high like this, and I just rip roaring like.
Oh yeah, you gotta hold up. The big mistake is like getting it under. Never
because I was shooting Jim Fuller's PKM.
Oh, that's not his PKM is nice.
It's a beautiful PKM.
Yeah, it's got the Zenico on it?
Yeah, he had Zenico canted pod, and I was running a sleeveless shirt, so.
Well, I mean, you gotta show off the muscles.
I got what I paid for.
What's the point of taking trend if you don't show it off?
Now, to be clear, when I was shooting the PKM, my brain and my cornea and my eyes couldn't really keep up with what I was doing. How did it look from your end?
Gray dust everywhere. Your muscles just vibrating with the gun.
Wow.
Sexual, I would say.
Sexual intense. Well, that was a good time, gentlemen. The PKM truly is an awe-inspiring, powerful weapon. Big thank you to Mr. Thumb for stopping by and helping me out on this dangerous journey because, gentlemen, it is dangerous to go at it alone.
I'm just happy to be here and, you know, love you a little bit.
I mean, I love you a lot of it.
Thank you. No, just very strong emotions for you right now.
Cool, cool. I feel the same. All right, let's boot, scoot, and boogie and get out of here. That way. Oh, it's not on. For Abby Shapiro.
What's that one scene of Aragorn where he's, before he turns the gun up, where he charges off and he's like, pour big tobacco? You remember that scene?